Hi, hello, I'm Sam Harris and I read, review and discuss fantasy and science fiction books. Today I have a review for you of Howling Dark by Christopher Ruocchio, which is the second book in the Sun Eater sequence. Planned to be 7 books, and there are also some novellas involved. I actually don't know what I need to read next, whether it's a novella or a novel. We'll find out. Somebody will say in the comments, I'm sure, or I will Google it. This is going to be a non-spoiler book review. However, I am going to spoil elements of the first book, Empire of Silence. So if you are extremely spoiler averse or you have not read Empire of Silence, then I would recommend you go and read that. I only gave Empire of Silence a 3-star review. However, a lot of that was a misalignment of my expectations and what I actually got in terms of the book. It's fairly similar with how my first ever review of Red Rising went. Back in 2017, I gave that 3 stars, and a lot of that was because I was expecting more Rising and didn't really get it. Just got, didn't even get that much Red. So what I was expecting from Empire of Silence was this kind of big, epic space opera, and it actually ended up being a very, very personal, focused tale. And one of the unfortunate problems I had with that as well was that it felt like Hadrian, the main character of Empire of Silence, was very much being pulled along by events. He wasn't actioning things himself. He wasn't doing stuff. Stuff was being done to him. So all of that changes in Howling Dark. The scale goes much bigger. For example, in Empire of Silence, 90% of the book is on the same planet. However, in Howling Dark, we visit multiple different locations. We visit gigantic spaceships. We visit off-the-grid space stations where criminal services can be procured. We visit kind of mythical cursed planets. Really, really good. Loved how much more epic and how much bigger the scale of this story went. When I read the original Empire of Silence, I noted, and I said this in my chat with Ross and Laura when we did a full spoiler discussion, that this book has the same basic review quotes this one does, and all of it said the word epic. It was like an epic science fiction. In fact, this James S.A. Corey quote, right? Epic science fiction at its most genuinely epic, which I did not feel described Empire of Silence at all. I thought Empire of Silence was a really good story, but because it didn't match up to what I wanted, and because I felt like the protagonist was, again, not really making anything happen, just kind of going with the flow, which isn't... While that might be more realistic for how people live their lives, I kind of want a protagonist to be more active, and that is definitely what he is in Howling Dark. 1 second while I let my cat out. Right. We'll see how long he stays. He's here for now. You say hi to the viewers, Barry? He's not feeling talkative. Imagine if he just turned around and went, hello, like and subscribe. That would be funny. Anyway, so Howling Dark. I enjoyed this much more than Empire of Silence. I have to say, and I haven't really reflected this in my review, but I feel like this was probably the exact opposite of the kind of book that I needed to read. When it came up on my schedule. I decided to read it for multiple reasons. A, because I really enjoyed chatting with Ross and Laura, and Ross and I are planning to do a full spoiler discussion for Howling Dark. And also, I really loved Lesser Devil, and I wanted to see where the story went. And I felt that Empire of Silence had a huge amount of potential, more potential than any first book in a series I've read in ages. So I just kind of wanted to see where it went. And also I had this lovely, massive, floppy trade paperback copy, which was sent to me by Jake from Andrew Watson's Discord. Thank you, Jake. But so I feel like, so I read this coming straight off the back of The Great Hunt, the second book in the Wheel of Time. And I read this with two unfortunate negatives kind of pressing on me. One is I think I needed to read something shorter. I think I needed a kind of a short and fast and fun book. Whereas there's a lot of, this is quite ideas heavy. It is not ideas central. I think the characters are really important in this book, and the characters are really well drawn. But I think that my brain was not really in the mood for it. I think I needed to chill out with something a bit more simple, fast, character focused sort of thing. And also, I had a bit of time pressure because obviously I had to finish the book in order to review it today. And so one of the big things that I was doing was listening to a lot of this book via audiobook. While I was doing, house chores, going out to the gym and things like that. And then what I would find was I'd been listening to the audiobook for too long and I had zoned out, and I would have to go and reread with the physical edition later that day. So actually, while my reading experience of this book was not great, that was my fault. It wasn't the book's fault. The book is great. But I wanted to address that kind of in this review, seeing as if I have any negative comments, a lot of them are probably because of my mental state while I was reading it, not the book. I'm going to be pretty positive on this though, to be honest, because I really enjoyed it. So Hadrian is our main character, and we get a decent amount of progression in his story arc in this one. So Hadrian, at the end of the previous book, has brought kind of all of his buds from the gladiatorial arena, his love interest Valka, and a few other supporting characters onto a spaceship that he's been given by the military, and also the captured Cielcin prisoners. And his goal in this book is to negotiate a peace treaty with the Cielcin. Hadrian has also, near the end of the previous book, received a vision of something. We don't know if it's the future. We don't really know what's going on with it. But he's received this vision in a temple or like cavern or ruin or something like that. I think it's described as like a ruin. So he's received this vision in a secret room in this temple ruin of a precursor race, which he and Valka refer to as the Quiet. So we know that Hadrian's important because he is telling this story in the first person, but from the far future. So I think that the referencing time frame we've been given is like 1500 years. So like 1500 years in the future, Hadrian is writing this story down, kind of like his memoirs. And there's some interesting moments in this book where he refers to, I can't remember X, Y, Z. Like, I can't remember this person, or I can't remember how long this took. And there's one section where he actually explicitly says his memory has failed him. And he says, lots of things, and my memory has begun to fail me. So we've kind of got that hint of the unreliable narrator here, which is interesting because it doesn't feel like an unreliable narrator book. It doesn't feel like he's kind of trying to lead us down corridor, certain, wrong red herrings or wrong turns. He's not trying to surprise the reader. And when big emotional beats happen, he actually often will say in advance that they're going to happen, He'll foreshadow, like, if he has to kill someone, for example. There's a section where he kills a character, and he foreshadows that very strongly at the beginning of that chapter. So yeah, as an unreliable narrator, still waiting for the unreliability to become more clear. As a narrator in general, though, I do really like Hadrian. I like how he's melodramatic and how he also makes fun of himself for being melodramatic all the time. The way that he does, he talks about how his mother was a Eudorian melodramatic opera writer. She made these almost sounds like soap operas, and it's kind of fun to see him take that experience and his knowledge gained from his mother into his kind of soldiering life. We also see a big war between so in the previous book, the big conflict I felt with Hadrian was the war between how he saw himself and how he actually was, who he is, who he was. So, he saw himself as this, big conquering hero, and he saw, hero of the Colosso, and he saw himself as the protagonist of the universe, of this story. Whereas in this book, there seems to be still that tension between who he is and who he wants to be, in that he wants to be a scholar, he wants to be an ambassador, he wants to, spread peace, but that's kind of not where his skills are. So his skills are in, combat, fighting. His skills are in leading and, inspiring combat and soldiers. And that's so his skill set is very much not what he wants it to be. And one of the things that I really liked about Hadrian in this book is that he seems to be kind of coming closer to understanding that he's not a scientist. He's not a scientist is the wrong term. He's not an academic. He's a soldier who, has got a lot of book learning. And I found that really interesting. I like this character as much as a good author can make you invested into someone who's sitting in a library and reading books. I feel like the strengths of Ruocchio as an author are that he's getting us invested into this maybe not particularly likable character, especially with what we know he gets up to later in the series, aka eating the sun, hence the Sun Eater sequence. So yeah, a lot of the other characters still feel a little thin. Valka gets the most attention, really, as his love interest. And also she is present with Hadrian for several sections of the book where he's kind of stuck somewhere for months on end. It's very interesting how this book takes a very long time to happen, but we skip over a lot. One of the things that I quite like about this, the perspective and the narrative style, that it's kind of this memoir, is that Hadrian of the future knows where the most interesting stuff is, and he just glosses over the things that aren't interesting because he's trying to write an interesting book. So that was good. Again, I like Valka in concept, and I like kind of so she's got a computer embedded in her brain, and I really like the questions that opens up to us. So a lot of the themes in this book are also humanity versus artificial life, and we have characters who major characters who are fully artificial, like Ilex, the homunculus. We have characters that are human but created by the emperor and his I think the Imperial College, I think it's called. So the Palatine characters are all kind of created. Then we have the patricians, who were normal plebeians, normal humans who've been raised up as close to Palatine as they can. So, you know, made taller, stronger, prettier, smarter, faster, everything improved, and given hundreds more years of life. The things that they're doing with patricians in this series is very interesting, and Rain Smythe, I believe, is a patrician, and I feel like the honesty is the wrong term. The like grounded nature of her character is really good and strong. I've got a lot of time for that character, and really interested to see more patricians get more story in the book. Especially, I would like to see Jean-Luc come back from Lesser Devil, and see what's going on with that set of characters. Now we are further down the line. Speaking of further down the line, there is a time skip in this book. So this starts 12 years after the end of Empire of Silence, of 12, well, more than 12 years, but it's 12 years of Hadrian's waking life. So he actually is in a very different position, and it's quite interesting to come into the story again with so much having happened. The one criticism I have of this book, and this is really I have two criticisms with this book, actually. So the number one criticism I have is that I did not feel attached or interested into a specific character that I feel like you are meant to be invested or interested in, simply because you know they're not that important because of the way they're spoken about. Well, not that important. You know that they don't continue to be a big feature because they aren't really referenced in the first book. They aren't, and you know, with all the foreshadowing stuff, a lot of stuff is mentioned up front. And there's also, I don't know, that they kind of turn up and they have this relationship to Hadrian. And this character is Jinan, by the way. So Jinan, she has this relationship to Hadrian that we've not seen, we aren't invested in, we don't really care about. And I don't think Ruocchio built that relationship to the point where I did care about it. Maybe if we had a bit more time with them together, or maybe if we'd seen some of them together in like a novella or something like that, I don't know. I felt like I wanted way more from that relationship than I got. And so when there are big moments in that relationship, I was left pretty cold. My other quandary with this book is really that I don't think there were any moments where I got what I've called previously the 5-star feeling. That's why I rated this book 4 stars. There were multiple action sequences I really liked. There were some that felt a little too chaotic and hard to grasp what was going on where. But overall the action was good, not amazing, just very good. We're not approaching, you know, John Gwynne levels here. But overall, a good book that I would recommend people read. And so far, this series is 2 4 stars and a 3 star for me, and I am expecting it to trend upwards. This wasn't a 5 star for me. However, it had a lot of potential to be a 5 star. It had a lot of stuff I really liked about it. I really liked a lot of the foreshadowing. I liked the prophecy stuff. I liked the stuff with the Brethren and the Quiet. I don't think that's a big spoiler to say, you know, that those two things are elements of the book. One of the chapters is called The Brethren. So yeah, I liked a lot of that stuff, and I am really excited to see where this series goes. I haven't bought the next book yet, actually. I don't know whether I will read it next month. Probably going to. but the next book might also be a novella. So if it is, then maybe that'll be something I read next month. If you have enjoyed my Sunita content, then, as I said, I'm trying to get together with Ross to do a full spoiler discussion of this book. He absolutely loved this book as well. Make sure you watch his review. I'll try and remember to link it in the description. But I had a great time watching his review, and it made me even more excited to start the book, and was kind of one of the things that pushed me into doing it. And I think that the fact that this book managed to get a 4-star and managed to really enwrap me and kind of invest me in the characters by the end, even though I was really in the wrong mood to read it, kind of tells you everything you need to know about whether you should read this book or not. So yeah, if you've enjoyed my Sunita content, if you've enjoyed any of the stuff on my channel, please do subscribe. Every subscription does really genuinely matter to me and really help. Every time I log in, I see that extra number ticking up. Makes me feel pretty good. Today's actually my 6-month anniversary on BookTube. This is 6 months ago when I recorded and uploaded my first ever video, which I would not probably recommend watching because it's not great. Thank you so much if you are still here along for the ride and you are subscribed to the channel. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you didn't like it, you can tell me so in the comments, or you can chat with me about this book. Please, though, no future spoilers, and try and keep discussion of big spoiler moments in this to a minimum so that people who are reading the comments don't get accidentally spoiled, because this is a non-spoiler review. Thanks so much for watching, and I will speak to you tomorrow.